Ever feel like, some relationships are just rock solid?
Unbreakable, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Like they can weather any storm. It's pretty amazing.
it is, it is.
Well, get this. Today, we're going to take a deep dive into how to actually build that kind of strength in our own relationships.
Ooh, exciting.
Right. And we've got this source. It's called Forging Strong Relationships, the Blacksmith's Vision. And it uses, get this, blacksmithing as an analogy.
Blacksmithing, huh? Okay, I'm intrigued.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So, like, how does that even relate to relationships?
Well, that's the cool part. The source, flips the script on how we usually think about, the tough stuff in
The
relationships.
challenges, yeah.
Yeah, the challenges. So instead of seeing them as, these big, scary threats,
Right.
it says that we should actually view them more like the heat of a blacksmith's forge.
The heat. Okay, I don't quite follow yet.
So think about it like this. A blacksmith, right? They use that intense heat to make the metal, malleable, to work with it.
Right, so they can, like, shape it, mold it.
Exactly. And that's kind of how the source sees challenges in relationships. They're not there to, destroy us, but
To transform us.
yes,
Yes.
to transform us, to make us stronger, more resilient.
Okay. That is a pretty different way of looking at things. So instead of, like, running from the heat, we should be embracing it.
Like leaning into it. I know, right?
Yeah, it's pretty counterintuitive.
Totally. So then the question is, how do we actually do that?
Mhm.
How do we, use those challenges to actually make our relationship stronger?
Yeah, get down to the nitty-gritty.
Exactly. Does the source get into specifics?
Oh, absolutely. It actually lays out, like, a whole process. It breaks down the blacksmith's work into 3 key stages.
Ooh, 3 stages.
Yeah, and they mirror what happens in relationships, which is pretty neat. So first you've got the heating phase.
Okay, heating. Like things are getting intense.
Yeah, exactly. Things get intense, emotions run high. Maybe you've got a clash of viewpoints or some deep-seated issue surfaces.
Oh, yeah. Been there?
It can definitely feel kind of chaotic.
For sure. So we shouldn't, freak out when that happens.
Nope, actually, it's a good sign.
Wait, really?
Yeah, it means things are, like, ready for change. It's an opportunity.
Okay, so that's heating. What's next?
Next comes the hammering.
Hammering. Okay, that sounds a little intense.
It can be, but this is where the real work begins, you know?
Right. So what does that look like in a relationship?
Well, it's about, addressing the issues head on, communicating openly,
Yeah.
being willing to compromise.
So it's like we have to put in the effort to actually reshape the relationship.
Yeah, just like a blacksmith carefully hammers that heated metal into the shape they want.
I see, I see. It's funny because I think a lot of times we try to, avoid conflict altogether.
Harry, sweep it under the rug.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But this source is saying we should actually lean into it.
I think so, yeah. It's about shifting our perspective, seeing conflict when it's handled constructively as a way to get to a deeper understanding.
Actually build more intimacy.
Exactly. And there's, a lot of research on couples therapy that actually supports that. It's not about never disagreeing. It's about how you navigate those disagreements.
Okay, interesting. So we've got the heat, we've got the hammering.
Yeah.
What's the third stage?
The cooling.
Yeah, or quenching.
So after the blacksmith shapes the metal, they have to cool it down, right?
Right, to solidify it.
Exactly, to solidify the changes. And in a relationship, this is kind of like that period of reflection.
Okay, and reconciliation.
Yeah, exactly. It's about integrating those lessons you learned and letting the relationship settle into this new, stronger form.
Got it. So the source is really emphasizing that it's not just about, surviving the tough times, but actually using them to become unbreakable.
Exactly. That's the whole point.
That's really cool. But how do we know if we're, doing it right? What are the signs of a relationship that's actually been forged this way?
Well, the source mentions a few key things. Deep trust, clear communication, and, unwavering support for each other.
Okay, those all sound super important, but also kind of hard to build.
They are.
Yeah.
But they're definitely worth it. It's about, feeling safe enough to be vulnerable with your partner, knowing they'll be there for you no matter what.
Yeah, that feeling of safety is huge.
It is. So how do you cultivate that? Well, I think it starts with, being willing to show up authentically, to share your thoughts and feelings honestly, even when it's scary.
Being vulnerable.
Yeah, exactly. And just as important is being receptive to your partner's vulnerability, too.
So it goes both ways.
Yeah, it's that reciprocal exchange, That's what builds true intimacy.
That makes sense. What about communication? I remember the source said something about, it should be like a blacksmith's precision. What does that even mean?
Yeah, that's a good one. I think it means choosing your words carefully, being mindful of your tone, and really listening to understand, not just to respond.
Active listening.
Exactly. It's about expressing yourself clearly and respectfully, even when you're disagreeing.
Right, which can be really hard.
It can, but that precision helps avoid those misunderstandings that can cause so much trouble. It helps foster that sense of safety and respect.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And finally, support. How can we be that, unwavering source of strength for each other, especially during those uh, hammering times?
Well, I think it's about showing up consistently, offering empathy and encouragement, and being a true teammate, you know?
Yeah, like having each other's backs no matter what,
Exactly. Sometimes it's about practical help. Other times it's just about listening without judgment.
and celebrating each other's strengths.
Yes. And offering compassion when things are tough. We all need that.
Absolutely. You know, it really sounds like this whole process, this whole forging of unbreakable relationships, it's an ongoing journey.
It is. It definitely is. And like any craft, it takes practice, patience, and a willingness to learn and grow together.
That's a good point.
The source actually ends with this really powerful question, and I think it's something worth pondering.
Oh, let's hear it.
It says, if our relationships are like forged metal, what kind of master craftsman do we want to be?
Wow.
Yeah, it really makes you think. What skills and qualities will we need to develop to create something truly lasting and beautiful?
That's a fantastic question. And I think it's the perfect note to leave our listeners on. It's been such a fascinating deep dive, exploring how this, ancient art of blacksmithing can offer such profound insights into building stronger relationships. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.